Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Quick Fixes to Stop Losing Sales. Whether you're joining us from your office, your home, or maybe even on vacation, we're thrilled to have you here. Now, before we get started, um, we are going to start off with a quick poll here to see where everyone is at with their websites. So we want to know, what's your biggest website challenge that you're currently facing? Is it low traffic, few sales or conversions, outdated designs, weak messaging or copy, or other? You can share in the chat. Okay, we'll give you a few seconds with that there. Perfect. Now we'll start to get into things here with our land acknowledgement. Okay, before we get started, we just like to acknowledge the lands we're on. So Business Link acknowledges and respects that we are on traditional land, meeting grounds, territories, gathering places, and traveling routes of Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10. This is also the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the lands of those who have come before us, reside here now, and in the future. Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome all of you to Quick Website Fixes to Stop Losing Sales. Today, we're going to learn how small design changes, powerful calls to action, and customer-focused content can turn your website into a 24/7 sales machine. My name is Samantha. I'm your host today. I'm with Business Link, working as a marketing specialist. So I know a thing or two about websites as well. Um, if it's your first time joining Business Link session, I would love to welcome you. Business Link is a government funded nonprofit that helps smart businesses in Alberta start and succeed. We offer free one on one support, market research, training, and resources to entrepreneurs at any stage. I'm so excited to introduce to you today our speaker, Anika Surtask, founder of Anika Rose Writes. Anika specializes in website copy, UX, and SEO to help entrepreneurs connect with their dream clients and grow their businesses. She'll share some practical ways to transform your site to your hardest working salesperson. Sorry there. Anika, we're so happy to have you here. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Samantha. Hello, everyone. Yes, so thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Business Link. Thank you, Linda. I know you're behind the scenes there. I'm Anika, and I'm so excited to be talking about quick website fixes to stop losing sales. I'm just gonna see. You actually can't see the chat when I'm speaking. So if you have questions, I'll let Samantha butt in and ask them. If that's okay. So yes, I wanted to focus on the quick website fixes because so much marketing advice is long-term big changes. But these are things that you can fix in 30 minutes to an hour that really should make a difference on whether your website makes you money or not. So I'm Anika, and I love talking about the little things when it comes to your website copy. I'm a UX copywriter, which means I spend a lot of time thinking about the journey your ideal customer takes from noticing your brand to buying. I'm here to catch the little things like the phrases your ideal client uses, the way you explain complex ideas, and how you connect with people and turn that into big picture strategy backed by data. I do that through my business, Anika Rose Writes, which is a copywriting business that specializes in websites, copywriting, and brand strategy with a focus on UX and SEO, based in Calgary. And we serve clients worldwide, helping passionate people express their expertise to expand their opportunities. So I would love to know what you feel about your website right now. Do you feel like it's pretty good? I'll open the chat here. There you go. Does not get any sales at all. Okay. So no sales. Pretty basic landing page. Cool. So before we get into the 5 things to fix on your website, let's look at what our end goal is. So your website's really important because in 0.05 seconds, people decide whether they like your website or not. And yet most early stage businesses are stuck with websites that repel clients. So, bad websites to me are websites that are losing you clients and sales, and you might not even realize it. So, a bad website is a placeholder. You might have, you needed a website, so you put something up, but there was no really strategy behind it. It was just a check mark on the list, the many things you had to do on your list. A bad website also loses you money. There's expenses to keeping a website up, either monthly or yearly. You might have hired someone to help you, and that's just costing you money. A bad website is also complicated for everyone. It's hard for you to update, and it's difficult for people who are using your website to find what they need. Bad websites also sound exactly like everyone else. People don't realize when they're on your website that they are on your website and not a competitor website. Good websites, on the other hand, have one big goal. Now, you might have many side quests along the way, but you are creating your website from this one goal, whether that's more subscriptions, more inquiries, more direct sales. You have built this website with that in mind. Good websites have obvious return on investment. You're still going to have those expenses, but you're going to have people buying from your website. And so even if it ends up costing you more money than the bad website, you're actually getting more sales, so it's worth it. Good websites also have intuitive navigation. That basically means that when someone is on your website, they don't have to think about where to find something. If they want to buy from you, the button is exactly where they think it's going to be. If they have a question, the question is exactly answered where they think it's going to be. They're not searching. And good websites are easily recognizable and build trust. So they have your brand, they have your brand voice, and they stick out. That doesn't have to mean that they're super loud or super unprofessional, but people can tell it's your website and not your competitors. So there's so much that goes into a good website. And like I said, I wanted to focus on the quickest ways to update your website because I want you to be able to walk away from this webinar with website fixes you can quickly implement on your site. So for that reason, I focused on one, talking to your ideal client, two, paying attention to your call to actions, three, improving your testimonials, four, looking for design mistakes, and five, adding more headlines. So a few things I'm assuming, and I see in the chat a few of us don't have a website yet, which is totally fine. But I am assuming you have a website because this webinar isn't going to teach you step by step how to start one. If you need help getting started, you can feel free to message me afterwards and I can try to point you in the right direction. And I will have a link to reach out to me afterwards. I'm also assuming that this isn't the first time you've heard basic marketing terms. That doesn't mean you have to know each term really well, but I'm assuming you've at least heard of call to actions, headlines, pain points, ideal client or customer. I'm going to use those words interchangeably. I will go over most of these terms again, but if this is your first time hearing these words, that's okay, but we might go a little fast for you. And before we get really started on the quick website fixes, I want to talk about what this webinar will teach you and what it can't, because there are so many things that can make or break your sales on a website, and we can't focus on all of them in a 1-hour webinar. So I'm focusing on messaging and a little bit of design in this webinar. If your problem is visibility or positioning, that's a different issue to fix. My advice is to start with these fixes. And if you're still losing money on your website, to reach out to a professional for an audit to see what bigger issues need to be fixed. Okay, let's start with the first topic. Write your website for the people who want to pay you. Not your competitors, not your spouse, not the cool people you met at a networking event who don't need your offer. So I don't know if you have done this, but what I see on a lot of websites is that you built your site around what you like, which might be a starting point, but unless it means something to your ideal client, it's not going to sell for you. That's what comes with a brand and what it comes to talking to your ideal clients. That's why it's so important. So, how do you make sure your website is about your ideal customer? You ask them, pretty straightforward, either literally with voice of customer interviews or by looking at feedback, competitor reviews, and forums. You can join Facebook groups where you know that people that might hire you or buy from you hang out. Join subreddits, look at Instagram comments, look at reviews from competitors if you're just starting out. See what people are talking about when they're just talking freely. Once you have this information of what people are actually talking about and what people actually need, figure out what your ideal client was doing right before they found your website. So if they're scrolling on Instagram after work and remembered you have an offer they wanted to look into, they're going to be in a different state of mind than the person who found you off Google. And this also goes into thinking deeper about what they're saying. If they're complaining on Reddit about their basement flooding, what do they actually want? Do they want DIY tips or do they want to hire a professional? That's how you figure out if the voice of customer that you're getting is relevant to your website or not. And finally, and this is an important slide, how well do they know you? You speak to the person you've met once differently than the person you hang out with every week. Keep that in mind when looking at your website. These things are going to change what you should write on your website. I only have this slide here, but I feel like I should have put it in other parts in this webinar because when I start talking about buttons and testimonials, I want you to keep this in mind when you're looking at the call to actions on your website. Are they written for that person on your site? Are they written for someone who's a first-time visitor or an email subscriber or someone who knows you really well? It's going to change what you write in those buttons, in those headlines, and which testimonials you're going to pick. So I want you to ask yourself, does your website actually speak to your ideal client? And I'm going to have a few specific questions that you can ask yourself when you're looking at your current website. Feel free to screenshot them. Yes, as a therapist, I can't list testimonials. I will bring that up. So first, does my homepage clearly say who I help and how I help them? So this example is from my own website. And you know immediately what I do is I take words and turn them into copy that inspires or motivates, it's a changing word, your ideal clients. And I do that through SEO website copy services, brand strategy, and UX expertise. So the first 5 to 10 seconds on your site, people should immediately know what you do. And if they don't, that's something you should update on your site. Then ask yourself, would my ideal client recognize themselves in my copy? This is going back to talking to your ideal clients. And if you can't directly talk to them, heading to social media where those people would hang out, looking at competitor reviews and seeing what people are talking about. So this is an example from some website copy I wrote for a shop. And one of the pain points that a lot of women this age complain about is they want to look put together and they don't want to use an iron. So immediately someone reading this is going to self-identify and say, this is me, yes, yes, yes. And when you get those small yeses, they're more likely to say yes to the bigger things. Okay. And then ask yourself, am I solving a specific problem or just listing services? So in this example, I could just say gift cards available in person and online. But instead, I'm focusing on the problem that people might be feeling, which is lack of confidence. And the promise is if you give someone this gift card, you're giving them confidence. Another example would be from my own business. So a lot of people don't know how to talk about their business at networking events. My brand strategy guides give you a brand story, mission statement, and so much more so you can talk and sell about what you do in a variety of circumstances. So here I'm saying, yes, this is a service, but the focus is on the problem it solves, not the service. And then finally, for this section, is my tone aligned with my ideal client's energy? So this is an example from a photographer, and she is very warm and caring and easy to talk to. And I don't want people to have to wait to meet her to get that feeling. I want them to read her website and already know that she cares about them and she's fun to be around and she's a bit of a cheerleader. So this is why her website copy reflects that. The tone is that warm, caring, conversational, a little bit fun, and you're going to get that with her in person and when reading your website. You don't want there to be a disconnect between how your website sounds and the service or product that you sell. So this is a big section, this first section, and it's probably the one that you can work on the most and the longest. I promise the next sections are also a little more practical. Okay, so next, I want you to make it easy for people to give you money with better call to actions. So literal review here for some of us. Call to actions or CTAs or anything that asks the reader to do something. On your website, this will often look like a button. So question for you, how often do you think about your call to actions? Do you think about your call to actions at all? If you have a website or if you do any marketing? Not enough, not really. Yes, okay. Not on every page, okay. I mean, call me is direct, so we need some of those. Okay, so I mean, I think most of you answered. You probably aren't thinking about your call to actions enough. Your call to actions are what moves readers through your site until they buy from you. Your call to action is literally the thing that makes you money. So put effort into it. If your site doesn't tell people what to do next, they probably won't do anything. We're going to go over examples of call to action buttons, but really quickly, call to action buttons should be specific action oriented, easy to spot, sprinkled throughout the page, show a benefit, and a clear next step. You should place your CTA buttons throughout the page. I think we forget that people might return multiple times to your website and might not read it in an order that seems logical. That's why you should place your CTA buttons throughout your website copy, not just up top, not just at the bottom, and you should change what your CTA button says based on where it's placed. And I see a comment here that says, I don't want to seem pushy. But if you are truly solving someone's problem and they're on a business website, then they probably are looking to be sold to a little bit and not necessarily in a kind of scammy direct sales way, but they're looking for their problem to be solved. And you can do that by making it really easy for them to solve that problem with button copy. You don't want them looking for the buttons. So, let's improve your CTAs. On the left side, we have very common call to actions, and they're not necessarily horrible call to actions, but I am going to show you how to make them better, which is transforming them on the right side. So on the left side, we have subscribe. And let's say this is for a lead magnet that you created, so some sort of free guide that someone's downloading, sure, they're subscribing by clicking that button, but if you want to show a benefit, you're going to say, get your 5 quick fixes, or get your guide, or get whatever they're getting. And this is specific, and it's showing them that there's a benefit to them. Subscribe isn't really a benefit to them. Learn more. I see this a lot. Instead, think about the clear next step someone is taking when they click that learn more. So change that maybe to see your options. I don't submit can be okay, but it's also, you can make it more specific to the action someone's taking, and you're showing them the clear next step. When I click submit, I do know what that means when I think about it. When I say send message, it's language I would use every day, and it's telling me exactly what's coming next. Now, buy now, changing that to save my spot or book my appointment. There's nothing wrong with buy now. It just depends on where it is on your website. If you're at a checkout page and someone is putting their credit card information in, buy now is the right button for that. Buy now on your homepage, when you click the buy now and it goes to a booking link where no credit card information is exchanged, I would switch it to save my spot. So the problem with a lot of call to action buttons is that someone who has never bought from you before doesn't 100% trust you. So when they think about clicking a button, they want to make sure they know what they're getting themselves into. When I click learn more, a learn more button, I don't know if I'm getting sent to a blog, a free download, or a credit card checkout page, and that can be kind of scary. So when you are looking at your call to action buttons or writing new ones, think about where that link is going to send people, or what action the person is taking by clicking it. And this is a bit of a repeat, but you can't assume that people know the next step. So if you want people to send you an inquiry, then spell that out for them. If you want people to book an appointment, say that. Want people to add the item to cart? Tell them to do that. People aren't sitting there and reading your website line by line. So being repetitive, being super clear, and also including call to actions that might seem basic to you is going to help remove friction and going to help people to buy from you. So if your call to action button doesn't clearly say what's next, people won't click, they're not going to convert, and you'll never know what you missed. So I want you to, after this webinar, look at your website and rewrite or add 5 call to action buttons to your website. Make sure they're clear, relevant, and click-worthy. I'm guessing for a lot of people, it might be adding call to action buttons even more than rewriting them. Okay, next is testimonials. So make your testimonials helpful and they'll sell for you. Testimonials can make or break your website, but vague, fake sounding testimonials can actually hurt your website conversions. So a good testimonial really highlights how you are different from your competitors. And if you don't have testimonials yet, or you aren't able to use testimonials in your marketing, I will get into that. So here's an example of a good testimonial. Before working with Anika, I hadn't gotten a single inquiry in weeks. After we launched, I booked 3 clients in 1 week and they quoted my website back to me. Here's an example of a not so great testimonial. Great job, really love what you do, unless someone super famous said it, and then you're almost just mentioning that that person said it more than what they actually said. So if you need to get good testimonials from your clients or customers, again, I recommend taking a screenshot of these questions, or you can watch the replay and come back to it. You can ask these questions in a survey form that you send to people once they book. I have a questionnaire survey that I send to people that's similar to this after they work with me, not after they book. If you're product-based, you might send the survey to whoever signs up for your email list once they buy. You can also, once someone's purchased from you, you can go back and you can even set up video calls with them and go through and ask these questions and then just kind of like have that conversation. And that will get you both those really good voice of customer, those really good words, and background, plus new testimonials. You can also use these questions and kind of just edit them, make them your own when you ask for a Google review. So saying something like, I'd love if you could leave a review that goes over what your favorite part of working with me was, can help you get Google reviews that are really specific and not just general. Okay, so if you don't have good testimonials yet, think of the importance of social proof. So widen the testimonial. Not social proof is broader. So testimonials are social proof, but not all social proof is a testimonial. Social proof is when your reader looks at the actions, words, and endorsements of others to make a purchasing decision. So we can go back to hanging out where your ideal client hangs out. So if you're a therapist or in some industry that you can't directly quote someone, you can still speak to your ideal client by hanging out where they're hanging out and complaining about their issues. If you're working with women who are pregnant or people who are pregnant, you can go to um, a, a Reddit that is full of pregnant people and ask questions there or read what they're saying. You don't even have to ask questions. So while you're waiting for great testimonials, or if you can't use testimonials, here's how you can add social proof to your site. So are there experts in your industry who have endorsed you? Add their review. Have you made multiple media appearances? Add those logos. Have certifications and education? Talk about them. You might also add those logos. If you worked with clients who have logos, you can display those. You can say clients I've worked with. And these don't have to be super famous clients. Just having those logos adds social proof that you've worked with other people before. You're not just starting out. If you've had clients featured in big publications, you can add those logos saying something like clients featured in, and then having, Forbes or some famous publications there. And if you have detailed client work, you can write case studies. So like call to action buttons, testimonials should be sprinkled throughout your page too. So your testimonials should be placed after talking about your process, after making a big promise, and when introducing yourself or your company. You want to back up what you say by what other people supporting it. I am not a big fan of putting testimonials on a separate page because how often are you going to read those? You want your website to just naturally flow, and your testimonials should naturally flow with it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about making your website scannable. So kind of going back from testimonials, you want testimonials to also be scannable. You want it to all flow together. And your design is an important part of that. As a UX copywriter, I think about how the words on your website look and feel to someone on your website. If everything is the same size, weight, or alignment, your user has to work to figure out what matters. Most won't. You can think of this as if everything is loud, nothing gets heard. So I see two common easy to fix issues when it comes to design, and that's large amounts of center aligned text and not enough white space. And we'll talk about what that means. So text alignment, definitely the quickest fixed. Probably something you're familiar with if you've ever been on a Word document. And so left alignment is the easiest on our eyes since as English readers, we read from left to right. It's easiest when the first word of the line is at the same place. Otherwise, our eyes are going all over the place. And even that little bit of pain can make us not want to keep reading the site. The next most common alignment is center alignment. It's best used for small amounts of text and titles, just because, as you can see here, the line is starting at a different spot each time. So that can lead to a bit of fatigue if we're putting huge chunks of text. You shouldn't have a novel on your website anyways, but if you have lots of writing, make sure it's left aligned, not center aligned. Novels aren't center aligned, neither should big chunks of writing be on your website. And then there's right alignment. This is right aligned text, and while it looks nice, it's extremely difficult to read. I would use for decoration and avoid for important messaging. Because remember, your website is all about removing friction. We want to make your website easy to consume. Okay, now let's talk about white space. White space, also known as negative space, refers to the areas on a page or screen that are intentionally left blank or empty, even if the background isn't actually white. It includes margins, padding, and the space between text and images. So the benefits of white space is it helps website users consume information in a logical way without tiring themselves with too much too fast. White space puts attention on what matters and draws away from what doesn't. White space elevates your website, making it look more professional. Okay, so I have an example here that I took from a web designer. And just quickly, how does the one on the right make you feel versus the one on the left? What differences do you notice in the chat? Any differences? Text size, margins. Yes, very cluttered, almost aggressive on the right. Margins, lots of white space. Yes. So on the left, you can see spacing and nothing is super scrunched. On the right, it kind of looks like we're about to run out of paper and are trying to fit everything on one page. So we're not running out of paper. We're in the digital world. Space things out. I will also say that the one on the left definitely looks more professional than the other. I would probably even put more white space on this one, spread it out even more, depending on the content that is there. Okay, finally, let's talk about headlines. Headlines break up lots of information and make it easy for us to scan and consume your message. We think about headlines when it comes to news articles, but your site needs them too. Think of the headers as signposts to let people skim first and decide what to read later. So headlines are so important. We are in information overload these days, so your headlines are what grabs your users' attention. And if you don't grab someone's attention, they are going to keep scrolling past. They're not going to spend enough time on your site to buy from you. Because the longer you keep people on your site, the more time they have to build trust around you, and the more likely they are to buy from you. So your headlines, if any content is important on your site, it is your headlines, because people are 5 times more likely to read headlines. This could be a webinar in and of itself, but do you feel right now you have enough headlines on your site? Do you like how your headlines sound? Let me know in the comments. Or are you even thinking about your headlines? Not really. Barely any. Okay. So, yes and no, not even thought of. Hmm. Okay. Um, so ask yourself with the headlines you do have, and then when you're writing more headlines for your site, if a visitor only reads your headlines, can they still understand what you do and why it matters? So that's a big task for one line, right? So your headlines are worth taking the time on. So I'm going to show you two examples of headlines that I wrote for clients. This one is for a real estate company named Sweet Home Real Estate. They're in Alberta, in Cochrane. This section is about how they put you at ease and patiently listen to your feelings about moving. You can just read the headline and you'll understand that. And if this is a concern you have before you hire a real estate agent, then you might end up reading this paragraph. But if you don't read this paragraph, you're still going to know that the Sweet Home Real Estate agents really care and they will talk to you about your worries. You're not just another number to them. That's what this headline is signifying without explicitly saying that. Headlines are only written. There's no pictures with a headline. They're just like a title,
There we
as you
go. I
can see.
also, sorry to interrupt you here, Anika. I wanted to ask a question because when we had our poll earlier, a lot of people said low traffic as their issue. Can you talk a little bit about with headlines, like the importance of, is there importance of keywords with SEO, how that can kind of help as well?
Definitely. Yeah, your headline has a lot to do. So they're also the best spot to put keywords. So keywords are what tells Google or even AI what your content is about and helps you show up in search. And so the best place to put those keywords is in the bigger text. And so yes, you want your headline to connect with people emotionally, but you also want it to include those call to actions. Or not call to action, sorry, those keywords. Actually, the two examples I have don't include keywords. But on this site, the first section on their website, the headline includes a keyword, but it's really conversational. It's like the Cochrane real estate agents your next move needs. And so the keyword is Cochrane real estate agents.
Nice.
And it's included in, it's weaved in, but you wouldn't know, someone just reading it wouldn't know that's a keyword, right?
Yeah, of course. I think that's really informational. So you're saying headings can have multiple purposes as well, like
Yes.
not just reading, also keywords. It's
Yes.
great. Okay, I'll stop interrupting you and let you get back there.
Oh, you're good. Okay, so then this next section is at the bottom of the page. The headline works with the call to action button, whether or not you read this paragraph here. You can read no need to venture far for quality, book mobile service, and you know what's up. Um, Plus, the company's name is Shire Tire, so the brand voice is a subtle nod to Lord of the Rings here. So another thing that your headlines can do is be in line with your brand voice, and they should be. So that's an example there. So if you don't have enough white space, if you have paragraphs over 5 to 6 lines, if your website feels like reading a novel, you need more headlines. And not just any headlines, you need headlines that capture your website users' attention and keep them on your site for longer. I've included a link to download my free website headline template at the end, so you can use that to make your headlines more interesting. But before that, let's ask ourselves on your site, can someone skim my page and still get the message? Oh. Where are my headings? What is my text alignment? Where's the white space? So how are you feeling about the design of your website right now in the chat? And headlines are even more than design, but they do have to do with alignment and white space and all of that. Yeah, need some work. I would definitely say that that starting with text alignment is probably even the simplest, or just add more padding, add more space and margins on your website. That's one of the easiest ways to start. So because you don't have to do everything we talked about today, this is being recorded. So start with the section that feels the easiest to fix, or the one that you feel like needs the most help. So even one fix is going to help your website sell better. So let's review what we went over today. Your website isn't for you, it's for them. Your call to actions are literally what makes you money, put effort into them. Social proof is your client doing the selling for you. Less is more when it comes to design. More is better when it comes to headlines. And we covered a lot today. So if you forget everything else, remember your website is all about removing friction. Make your website easy to consume. So if you want to get the free template that helps you stop the scroll on your website and you can use it on social media, you can scan that QR code there. We will have time for questions right now, but if a question doesn't get answered or you start working on your site and you realize you have more questions, feel free to DM me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Let me know you went to the webinar so I know where you're coming from. I know what you learned already. And there should actually be, if you scan the QR code, I think I have like a little icon and link to my LinkedIn and my Instagram. But yes, for now, let me know if you have any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anika, for that fantastic presentation. I'm sure everybody learned a lot. Your tips were so great and simple and things that you don't super think about right away. Now, just before we get into the Q&A here, I will encourage everyone to start asking some questions in the chat or in our Q&A function. We're going to get to those in a second. I also just quickly wanted to do some shameless promotion for Business Link here. So Business Link also offers services in digital marketing. They're not as in-depth as what Anika offers, but we do stuff on social media and planning that you can get and access for free. Also, if you have general marketing questions, we don't do the work for you, but we can provide advice. So if you check out businesslink.ca and click on our contact us form, we can always help you there. Um, Now, before we get into the official Q&A, I did actually have a quick question for you, Anika, because there was a lot of people asking about services. Could you give just a quick overview of the services you offer if people are looking to hire you per se?
Yeah, so I offer multiple different website copywriting services. And so some of them are, if you're just starting out, I will audit your website, review what you've already done, and give you pointers, sometimes even rewrites of certain sections. So that's like kind of the introductory level. Then I have a website in, it's website in a week right now, but it's called website in a day. And where I write the three most important pages of your website, so home, about, and services. And I also have like a more comprehensive website package where I'm actually interviewing previous clients, like when we talked about the testimonials and those questions, like I will go in and talk to these people, get better testimonials, get better information from them. I also offer some brand strategy and brand voice creation, which is typically if you've been working for if you've had your business for a little bit and you really have that direction, but you need to have that all in one nice document. And then my services are listed on my website that will be linked. And then the audit actually isn't updated yet, isn't listed because it's a new service because a lot of people wanted it. So if you reach out on my inquiry form and are interested in an audit, I can send you the information, or I'll update my site in the next few days, but it's an ongoing thing.
Okay, that's new and exciting there. Yeah, so people just follow up with Anika directly if you're interested in her services or want more details on them. I'm sure you provide that as well. Okay, so now we're going to get into the weeds of the Q&A here. I'm going to start off with a question that we got kind of early in the webinar, but it's a little bit missed. How do you feel about justified alignment on a website?
Yeah, I didn't include that one. I feel like it's not necessary because we're not saving space. We don't need to save space on a website. If you have enough text, it could look cool. It's more of a style choice. But if all of your text is justified, it might be difficult to read.
From what I remember, justified alignment really works best in those like design pieces.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, focusing on the website being functional is like and readable, right? That's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So if
Uh,
there's a few sections that it looks cool and it's not the most important message ever, then justify them. But if it's like a really key, like what you do section, probably don't justify those.
Sounds good. Next question, I'm just going to repeat this because we've gotten this a little bit. So this recording will be available on the Business Link YouTube channel after this. So all this information, including the Q&A, will be on there as well. Oh, this is a fun question. What is the best website you've seen so that everyone can use it as an example? Or maybe
Oh,
a couple that you really love.
I don't think I could give one off the top of my head. I think it really depends on your industry, and then who your ideal client is. Like there's a lot of great websites out there. But if you're completely copying from someone else, then that's probably not going to be great. I would probably look at any like copywriter's website or website designer's website though for anyone who's in the website specifically focused on websites, they theoretically should have websites that are good to look at and at least have some of the information and padding and design stuff that you're looking for inspiration. But it's hard to say just like generally.
Yeah, so it's what you're saying is one, it could be like a research opportunity for you to go and look at other websites in your industry. I also would like to say that there is a great website out there called www.anikarosewrites.ca. It's a great resource to look for design. Um, but but
Should have used that call to action there myself. I'm like,
yeah,
well,
I
my
got you.
favorite website's mine.
Two marketers on the call. Um, this is a um, how about for product descriptions? Any suggestions on how to write product descriptions
Ooh,
or tips?
yeah, I mean, it will depend on your brand. Personally, I like when they personalize product descriptions where it's like you give them kind of like a personality, make it like you're talking like a person, but it's your product. Also, great place for keywords. Um, I would also, I mean, if anything, you can get all fun with the stylized, but focusing on the keywords and just being really clear, people can easily scan, easily find what the product is. You're not writing an essay. I mean, that's true of your whole website,
Yeah.
but
And for any tips on with that product stuff just going on that about like placement on pages or anything? I know sometimes we see stuff on the homepage, sometimes it's a
mm,
dedicated page. What do you think about that?
yeah, I just the website update's not launched, but I worked on a website that was a product like a shop. Um, and yeah, I looked at a lot of shop websites as well, and I didn't like most of them actually. But I would think about what your ideal customer is looking for. So placement, I can't exactly say, but I would group in collections or things that people are searching for. Um, I would also include in terms of just like copy, doing some sort of differentiator, like really clearly what you offer. For the shop I worked on, they only brought in Canadian and women designers. And so like that's one of their things that's really unique that was on their website, but otherwise it was a lot of collections of like natural fiber collections, or travel collections and stuff like that. I don't know if that answers the question, but
I think so, providing examples and ideas there. Um, Actually, I saw a really interesting question too, because I know video is on everybody's mind these days. How do you feel about the use of video on websites and how can that help a website or harm it? I'm assuming it's help it, but I'll let you
yeah,
speak to that.
I've I don't know like the stats around it, but I've heard that videos are really helpful on websites. The only thing that I find difficult about putting videos on if you're DIYing and stuff is it can make your page really slow to load. So then if people are waiting even a few seconds for your page to load, that's not good. So I think videos are really good and they can add that kind of luxury appeal in a lot of cases, or even down to earth if it's like kind of an intro. But just being careful that if you're putting it on your website yourself, that it's not like completely slowing down its loading.
Yeah, that's great insights there, especially with load time. It's really important to think about um, how, like, you don't want to give someone a chance to think badly about your product. So if your website isn't loading quickly, it seems unprofessional. So that might not be the best way.
Mhm.
I do actually know a workaround for video. So instead of having a video that automatically plays on your website, and it's like the first big cover photo, you can always use like a YouTube link that they actually have to click and play. That won't slow down your website as much.
Yeah, I've seen that. And it's kind of nice too when you're scrolling or if it's in the background to not have the video playing. That's just me though. That's not any like marketing actually advice. That's my personal preference to be able to pause it.
Mhm. Just
Um,
trying to figure out this question here. But I think what they're asking is about like the type of website you're having. So like platform, like having a designed WordPress website or like using something like a website builder. Do you think that has a big effect on like sales and like your customer's actual view of the website, or is that more a personalization?
yeah, I think that's back end. I mean, you can design a functional and beautiful website on really any of these platforms. So I guess the question would be, um, if you're DIYing, especially what platform do you feel most comfortable with? Which one's the most intuitive for you? But I've seen great websites on all of the platforms. Some of them do require a little more tech knowledge. Um, I would say, yeah, and some of them I know theoretic, at least in the past, have had issues. Certain like some might be better for SEO, some might be better for functionality and accessibility. But if you're just starting out, those things aren't that important. What's more important is that you can update it and aren't struggling to update it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, the updating thing is really user friendly on your end. You don't want to be having to hire someone to make a 1 second change on your website every moment. So really think about your skill set or your team skill set because you might not just be a solo entrepreneur, you might have a team with you. But seeing what those in-house skills are and utilizing those. Um, Big financial saver too. Um, Now I know we had briefly talked about this, and it's okay if you're not comfortable, Annika, but would you be open to maybe reviewing a website for one of our attendees, like a quick first thoughts on it?
Sure, sure. Let's put
Okay, sounds good. So if anybody would like a quick website review from Annika, could we pop? Oh, we've got one. Do you see that one there, Annika?
Vanessa. Yeah,
Yeah. Let's start with Vanessa. Maybe we'll get into.
let's see. Okay, let me stop share. Oh, now my taking a little bit to load, I'll say. Okay. Should I switch what I'm sharing?
Yeah, if you could just share that screen because I'm not clicking through with you, so it might be a little bit easier on me.
Yeah. Okay. Can you, yeah, everyone can see that? Okay. Serene swimmer paintings for art collectors seeking calm and quiet beauty. I think that's a pretty good hero section is what this section is called. Because I know what you're selling. I'm not asking you what you do. I don't know exactly where this call to action button is going. Um, and that is a little bit scary. Like if I click collect art, am I going to a buy now page or am I just looking at what you offer? So maybe I'm playing around with that button. Um, okay, immediately introducing yourself. I would say about the artist, it's very clear, so good for that. Maybe trying to make it a little bit more creative or even putting in any keywords if you're focused on SEO. You can even have about the artist, maybe like in smaller font, but this is such important real estate on your website. It would be nice if it said a little bit more about who you are. Even like a quick fix would be maybe making this bigger. But you could do even more there. Um, Ooh, that's so pretty. I love the art. Feel calm in your inbox, join the list. I like that it's saying join the list over subscribe. Not that there's anything actually wrong with subscribe, but I like that you're like you know what you're clicking, you know what you're consenting to. And then yeah, um, it all begins
I will
under
also say,
yeah.
just on my end, looking through this as well, I like the brand personality comes through a little bit with your wording. It's
Mhm.
all very consistent, which is fun.
Yeah, I like that it all begins underwater in that I'm like, what begins underwater? And I keep reading, so it does open a little bit of a loop. Um, I yeah, so this is almost like an intro to yourself. Um, I think this could probably be a little bit of a shorter section. Um, or just or at least clearer up front what this section is talking about. So maybe even switching like my underwater paintings capture that meditative world, maybe even switching the paragraphs. So I read it all begins underwater and I don't have to read through to figure out what this section is about. Yeah, I think we're almost out of time now.
Yeah, I was about to interrupt you there. This is great. I think it's maybe not, when we pull you back next time, we'll have to
Yeah.
review some more websites.
Yeah, and I
Um,
also love the
uh,
spacing. Love the spacing, so I'll say that. Lots of spacing.
Great spacing, a lot of white space, I will
Lots of
say.
white space, yes.
So yeah, so I'll wrap us up here. So that's all we have time for today. I would like to thank everybody for joining. I would love to invite everyone to feel free to scan that QR code to sign up for our newsletter. So that's where you get updates on our blog, free resources, and also all our upcoming webinars to stay in the loop. Again, we'll be sending out a full recording of this webinar. It'll be in your inbox. It'll also be up on our YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe there. We also would really appreciate if everybody could complete the pop-up survey that's going to pop up right after this webinar ends. Your feedback is so valuable. And I want to say another huge thank you to Anika for all her insights and inspiration. We are can't wait to have you back. Look, I'm already making promises. Um, and we hope to see everybody again soon in our next webinar. Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.